Holy smokes, guys. What is going on with Tim Pool? Couple of things have been happening. First and foremost, he alleges that someone shot at his house. Yesterday, he had a crazy meltdown towards Candace Owens and apparently some money issues. And then third, now he is saying that he does not know for certain if his show will be able to continue. What is going on? Let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, this is probably one of the biggest stories, I think, this week. Like I said, Tim Pool is kind of melting down here. Let's go ahead and get into what happened with the shooting. Let's get into that first. Again, Tim Pool is alleging that someone shot at his house and that he does have security, but if he didn't have security, then things could have been worse. But a lot of people are pushing back on this and they're saying that they don't believe him. He isn't providing evidence that this happened. And someone made a call to the sheriff's department to find out if this actually happened. And Tim Pool is crashing out. Let's go ahead and get into it right about here.
And I got a message just around 1 a.m. And it was vague and nondescript. Just there was an incident. We need to talk with your team. And then we started getting the details trickling in that a car had been lurking or something to that effect, and a shot was fired. We now know that it was 3 shots that were fired. We don't know exactly what or why, and we are desperately trying to rationalize. Maybe it's just random. Just somebody was driving down the road in the middle of nowhere in the country and decided to slowly approach our property and then fire several rounds just for no reason, for fun, perhaps. I can't read the minds of these people.
Now, what is interesting about this incident is that this happens after Tim Pool got into a pretty heated argument with Candace Owens on X. Obviously, they've been butting heads here. He feels as though Candace is ruining the MAGA movement. Again, I think it's very interesting that people think just one person is doing this. I would say a big part of this came from Israel's actions, the genocide in Gaza. People are pushing back against what Israel is doing on both sides, on the Democrat side and the Republican side. So I wouldn't say it's one person that is doing this, but he has been very angry about that. And he's gone on to talk about it. So this incident happened after that, back and forth that he had with Candace Owens. And my initial thought was, okay, is he going to try to say that this is because of her, that this happened because of her, allegedly happened? And I say allegedly because people are saying, show evidence, show like details that this is happening. And Tim's not confirming that. And I understand people want to protect their privacy. I totally get that. But you can still produce evidence without giving away like your address or, like showing like pictures of your actual house. You could provide a police report for one. That would be the easiest thing that you can do. So all of this is really muddy. And I'll tell you what I think is really going on here.
In October, I was traveling. My family was back in West Virginia, and we had received a credible death threat, credible as determined by the FBI. We received threats, death threats, quite a bit. And this time, it was a bit more specific. It was intended to terrorize. It wasn't sent to me specifically like many of the threats usually are. It was intended to reach everyone at this company. I immediately contacted police, our security team did, as well as the FBI. I directly communicated with the FBI over this issue, sent them the information. It was relayed to us a short time later that the threat was credible because the individual making the threats had been on their radar. Surprise, surprise.
Anyone find it interesting that the FBI, Kash Patel, never reported this to the media? Never reported this at all? Anyone else find it interesting that he reached out to the FBI and they looked into it and said it's very credible? But when Candace reached out to the FBI, they were like, yeah, we received it, but you didn't get an update about that. And Cash Patel, I don't remember Cash Patel ever reporting this.
And that this person was actually making comparable threats to other people. They believe they might know who this person was. I'm not sure where that investigation is going. For that reason, I believe that they're actually investigating these people, and we've been talking with them. I'm not going to, publish these emails or the communications that had happened. But the threat was basically to come and shoot up our property. And there were some specifics in it that made us say, okay, maybe this is, it could just be terror, right? So when I returned home after going out with the boys on a Friday night, hanging out, laughing, having a good time, none's the wiser. And then we hear security's on high alert. They're monitoring. The extra guys have come out. We pull up. They're standing guard at our perimeter fencing. We have a gate, and said they heard shots fired. They were on the property where our studio is, and they heard the shots and went and investigated. We have 4 videos of what happened. We don't, well, I'll put it like this. We're not going to be, at this time, for security reasons, I got these people screaming, release the footage. And the concern we have is obvious. To then show everyone where we put our cameras, that's not going to happen. And that's the honest.
No, but you could release a police report, because here's the thing. Tim Pool is one of the people that kept saying, and you'll see this later as well, that Candace Owens is saying all these things and not providing any evidence, but then Candace always comes back and provides some type of receipts. And I'm not here to stand for Candace Owens, but what I'm saying is people are now looking at Tim Pool to do that same thing. So no one expects you to give out your address, to show pictures of where you live, but where's the police report? And I think that's what people are looking for, at a minimum. I think at a minimum, they're looking for that police report. Where is that? Where was it reported? And that would be on record, right? So I don't know, man. This is very strange.
Truth. That's why I tweeted out, if anybody had been archiving the Chicken City live stream, this is inside of our chicken coop. It doesn't reveal. It's designed specifically not to expose the property, the location, or anything like this. And you would have seen the reaction from the chickens. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but... And so where does it leave us now with what happened? Well, of course, there are some people that don't want us to be having this conversation. Even right now, they're probably furiously preparing tweets, riling up their audience, preparing for shows, people who don't like me for whatever reason, saying that we're lying, making things up. None of this can be true. Charlie Kirk is dead. A couple months ago, he was murdered. We have a suspect. We don't know exactly what happened. There are many questions around how it all went down, what makes sense and what doesn't. Why did Charlie's security team not check the roof access? Well, they said the police told them that they got him covered. But that's no excuse for private security. So this is the conundrum. For us, our security is pretty good. I mean, this is why I think nothing worse happened. And it was just a vehicle firing shots driving by. We've been here for years. We've been here for about 4 years. This has never happened before.
I just want to add this part here with the class perspective. I want people to understand that most people in the political YouTube space don't have the money to have security. Most people don't. Most people who are influencers don't have security just because they can't afford it. So I'm thinking about all the people that don't have those things in place, right? Like Tim Pool makes enough, or did make enough, we'll get to that in just a second, to have airtight security like that. But the reality is, for most people, that is not the case. In reference to like those threats and things like that, yeah, it happens. It happens to a lot of us. I can tell you when we were protesting for Julian Assange, I can tell you that when we were protesting for Gaza, there are a number of us in the YouTube political space that receive those types of threats via email or on social media, etc. So those things do happen, but most people in this space do not have the financial means to have security. I think sometimes people don't realize like all the money that goes into this, and sometimes people are lucky if they break even. But the reality is, if you have the type of setup that Tim Pool has, that costs money. Like, notice I don't have that. But that type of setup, like a full blown, like studio, the graphics that are used, like you can tell the difference. Those of us in the space, we know the difference between the higher quality graphics, the fancier studios, the fancier streaming services. Like I use StreamYard, for example. A lot of us do use StreamYard, and there is a difference between using StreamYard and using like this complex, system that is more expensive so that your streams look much more professional, right? Like you can tell the difference between my stream and like Tim Pool's stream. I don't have the cameras that like Tim Pool has, for example. Most of us don't. I'm just using a webcam. So there's a lot of money that like goes into this. And I think for those who want to appear to have like that 4K like presence, those fancy cameras, to have like a whole team of people that can help them, that's expensive. And for some of these things, you have to pay like monthly, like, payments depending on what service you're using. And I just want people to understand that like the majority of people in this space do not have the money to have security or to have this fancy setup that like Tim Pool has. That's just something that people need to keep in mind.
And so, considering the time we are in, the threats we have received, and the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, the intelligence assessment is yes, these threats are real. Not all of them. You know how the internet can be. I want to believe, and I've asked a million times of our security, of our friends, political people in DC, but couldn't it just be somebody was just lurking around and they're just Yosemite Sam, bang, bang, bang for no reason? The response I get from everybody is maybe that's just wishful thinking. Regardless, it's either an omen, it's become too dangerous, even if it's not targeted, or it's gotten to that serious of a degree.
And I want to be very clear that I don't wish this type of violence on anyone. Like, I don't wish violence on anyone. But I have said, and this was the warning that I was giving people after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that whether you like Charlie Kirk or not, what happened to him can happen to anyone in this political space. I know a number of people, we had conversations behind the scenes. A number of people were scared after, Charlie Kirk was assassinated because of the things they talk about, because of the people that they, call out. Like, they're like, oh no, what if that's going to happen to me? There were multiple conversations that I had with people behind the scenes about that very issue. So I think it was a wake up call for, a lot of people. I think for those of us that have a smaller following, like most of us don't have over 1 million subscribers like Tim Pool, we can kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but still, you never know, right? You never know who wants to come after you, or who feels as though they're so bothered by what you're saying, they're going to resort to, that level. Now, with Charlie Kirk, I told you guys before, I don't believe that it was Tyler Robinson, or I don't believe he acted alone. I do believe that Intel was behind this. And I think all the evidence that we have seen so far really point to that. And I'm just asking myself, when it comes to Tim Pool, Would Intel be against what Tim Pool is doing? No. For one, let's all remember Tim Pool actually sat in a room with Benjamin Netanyahu. Tim Pool was in that club, right? So think about all the people, all the influencers that were in that room with Benjamin Netanyahu. So he has a positive there for the Israel side. They're not, at least they're not going to see Tim Pool as a threat. And this is not to say that there isn't some rando somewhere that might just lose their cool and try to do something like this. Those things do happen, but I do find it very strange that he's not even producing a police report. That's the part that have people questioning. And he said so himself in this video that, well, people say it could have been just someone, shooting their guns off in the air somewhere. He doesn't dispute that that could be a reality either. So I don't know. Some people feel as though he might be doing this to get attention. The numbers aren't looking good. This is another thing that's been brought up. The views for his show have been declining, right? So there is this split among the conservative political commentators, the ones that are still pro-Israel and the ones that are not. And people decided to pick a path. People decided if they're going to continue following the pro-Israel ones, or if they're going to follow the ones that are against Israel's genocide in Gaza and this money going to Israel. So there has been a split there. So knowing that there has been a split, that means that some of these people are losing views or losing subs. I told you a couple of days ago that Ben Shapiro has been bleeding subscribers, according to Social Blade. Candace Owens, as much as Tim Pool is angry with her, and you'll see more in just a second, Jesus Christ, as much as he is angry with her, she's gaining views. She's gaining subscribers. She's not losing them at all. Like, she's growing. And so now it seems as though for people like Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens is now their competition. And as I said, with these expenses, this is where the money comes in. When you have that type of setup like Tim Pool, when you have to pay for strong armed security, probably 24/7, the costs start to add up. So when it gets to the point where you start losing viewers or subscribers, now you're taking a hit financially, and you may not be able to continue doing things the way that you were doing them. And this is the thing. And I said this before, none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I have mentally prepared myself for this, and I hope other people do too. I was just having a conversation with Kit from Hardlands Media about this. We don't know what YouTube is going to do, or any of these platforms. They could wake up tomorrow and decide to purge all independent media. And I always have that thought in the back of my mind. I always have that it could happen. And so I prepared for that. If that happens, I'm prepared for that. But some people have not. And when you've been doing this for so long, Tim Pool's been doing this longer than me. There's other people that have been doing this for 10 years. If that happens, your path is going to be one or two ways. Either you're going to go back to getting a regular job, if you can, depending on what you've said in this space. That's a reality. Or you're going to try to make your way into corporate media so that you can still do media and still get a decent salary somewhere. That's the reality. That's the risk that people take when they come into political YouTube. And I knew that going in. And I think what we're starting to see with this split among MAGA is that some of those people like him and Ben Shapiro, although I think Ben Shapiro still makes a lot of money, when you start to lose that viewership, yes, that is going to impact you financially. Now, some people have sponsors and they can probably get by on that. But I'll tell you one thing, some of these people are living very large, very large. And I think for those who are making millions within the YouTube political space, once they start to adapt to that lifestyle and they get used to that lifestyle, it's very hard for a lot of people to let that go. Yes, there are political commentators that are making millions. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I think also what's happening here with Tim Pool, based on the numbers, it seems as though the finances are taking a hit. Let's continue on a little bit more here, and then we'll go to the next part.
So I think any rational assessment is a person driving slowly up, approaching our property. We're in the middle of nowhere, mind you. We're not in a city. That's what we call it, the boonies, right? And firing a shot, it's a shot is fired once they become parallel with one of the structures on the property. And then a few seconds later, as they become parallel with our studio, several more shots are fired. 2 more shots. The assessment is aiming at one of the houses and then aiming at the studio. It wasn't just a random pop, pop, pop. It lines up with where the vehicle is at.
Notice he said one of the houses. So there's, I guess, multiple houses like at his property. I mean, that just goes to show you, again, the wealth there. He mentioned we're in the boonies. I would also argue that can make you even more of a target. I think a lot of times people think that if they're out in rural, America, and they have this compound, this property, that will make them more safe. Oftentimes, I think that actually can make you less safe. And the reasoning being is because for those of us who live in the dense areas, we have a lot of neighbors, right? So if something does happen, somebody is likely to see something. I know for me, somebody's likely to see something. But when you live out in the rural part of wherever he is, when you live out in the rural part and you don't have all these people around you, people are less likely to see something. So I think that's just something to think about.
So I'd love to just say people randomly shoot for no reason. It just doesn't happen. We're out in the boonies, right? There are wooded areas. Most of them, maybe not most, but many of them are marked no hunting. But people on their properties, they go shooting in the backyard. This we know. This we understand. And so the security assessment is this was intentional. This was targeted. Now, what we don't know, were they actually intending to kill? I don't think so. I don't know if it matters. Seems like intimidation. Fire several shots late at night, put our security on alert. And for what reason? People who work here cannot feel comfortable if shots are being fired at us. Guests we have tried to book have told us explicitly, though this isn't as common, they don't want to come on the show because of these threats. We are 2 months out, as I mentioned, from the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And more people than I think you all realize are going into hiding.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people, some people are scared. Like I said, I've had conversations with people about this before in this space. I do want to show you something, though, here. Now, this gentleman decided to make a phone call to the sheriff's office. Shout out to Shadow of Ezra. A U.S. veteran reached out to the sheriff's office, but could not confirm Tim Pool's claims that his residence or business was allegedly shot at. So this is a U.S. veteran who made this phone call. I want you guys to hear this. Listen to this.
Yes, this is Deputy Hutchinson from Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, hi.
What can I help you with, sir?
So my name is Adam. I go by Adam the Angler online. I run like a very small content creator, accounts on like X and YouTube and whatnot. Anyways, Tim Pool had put out a post on X on December 6th around 8 a.m. saying that there was a shooting that took place at his compound, I guess, his residence / business.
Okay.
I have a possible address but I'm not 100%, but I just wanted to call and just verify that he has contacted you guys, like he said, because something about this just doesn't add up to me. So yeah, I just wanted to see if he's being honest or not, basically.
I mean, the only shooting I'm aware of is the murder we had up on the mountain last month. I'm not aware of any other shootings.
Okay. Yeah, no one like would have been hurt necessarily. He said in his post that it happened around 1 a.m. on the 6th of December, saying that someone approached his property and allegedly fired 3 shots. But then he said what's that?
What's his name?
Tim Pool. He's like a fairly large content creator. He covers a lot of like geopolitics and whatnot.
Okay.
And so I believe he lives within your jurisdiction, as far as I can tell. So I just
Yeah,
like.
so there are no calls associated with him. A report was taken. So
I'm sorry. What? Say that again. You said a report was taken.
I said I just ran his name in local. So if there had been if he had reported a shooting that we responded to in Jefferson County, it would have shown up in my system. And when I just ran his name, there's no calls associated with the shooting. Yeah, there's nothing for shootings or. And when I run his address, there's nothing coming up for it, and his name.
Huh. Well, okay. I appreciate that. We'll see if he produces something more on this alleged shooting. Because he's literally put nothing out other than saying there was a shooting and that he was in contact with police. And I've called you guys. You haven't heard of anything. And I even just talked to an officer with the Harvest Ferry PD and the incorporated city part or town part, and they said they didn't have one either. So I'm starting to lean towards this might be a hoax.
So, assuming that he had the correct sheriff's department, assuming that he had the correct location, which we don't know for certain, their response is that they have had no shooting reported. Assuming that his information is correct. And this is why I said one of the things that Tim Pool could produce is the police report. And he can, of course, obviously redact his address, like so that people don't see that. But that hasn't panned out. And that's why people are skeptical. Very strange. Again, assuming his information is correct. But now, Tim Pool is now crashing out against Candace Owens. And this is where I feel the financial implications are, taking it. I feel like this is where the finances are taking a hit. The frustration I hear from Tim Pool in this part of the video, to me, this feels like financial pain. Listen.
Candace Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is a degenerate cunt. She is burning everything down, and
I hate that word. I really do hate the C word. Ooh, it makes me cringe. So you hear this frustration?
She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages have no fucking balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these fucking messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't fucking DM me like I did something for you as you fucking cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right fucking now.
Yeah,
I'm fucking done with these people.
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two fucking shits. No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy. And she's.
So the same guy who was just complaining about what allegedly happened to his property shooting, and who said he wants to protect his privacy, doesn't want to put that information out there. The same guy is now going on to tell people what part of Candace's property looks like, and then also goes on to say she doesn't have security. Now he says she has one, his words, fat guy. So it's he doesn't want his business put out there like that, but it's okay to put her business out there like that. And this is why I feel like this is not about that. I feel like this part right here is about the financial pain, because she's growing. She has the #1 podcast in the world. She passed Joe Rogan. And Tim Pool was taking a hit, taking a financial hit. So he's really angry in this. I don't think I ever saw him like this before. Look at this. Look at the emotion. He's really, really angry. Angry.
No one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a shit about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my fucking property and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got fucking strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the fuck am I even supposed to sell this property?
So he has multiple properties. And why does he need to sell it? And that tells me there's a financial hit. Because he said there's residents that are living at that property in Maryland, but he's like, how am I supposed to sell it? So it looked like he might be looking to sell. So it looked like there might be financial implications here. And I feel like that's where a lot of this anger is really coming from. When people start to see when that wallet get hit, I feel like that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know.
And you know, it's all lies, it's all hypocrisy, and it is for the purpose of making money. And she does not live the way other people live. And she claims she liked Charlie, she loved Charlie, and she is burning everything down that he built because she is evil. She is evil. And I'll say it again, this conservative movement is fractured, it's fried, whatever it is.
Well, I tried to warn people. I told people, I said, they pissed off the wrong person. I really did. I said, they pissed off the wrong person because she knows a lot of information. And like, so yeah, she's like, I'm coming out with all this information. But you know, I mean, can you blame her? It's a corrupt organization. Can you blame her? Corrupt organization. Her friend was killed. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the people sideways, the ones who don't want to ask any questions. I'm looking at the people who are just kind of like, yeah, it was Tyler Robinson did this and that's the narrative. So just accept that and keep it moving. I'm looking at those people sideways because y'all know damn well that's not the case. I just said y'all. Haven't said y'all in a long time.
Okay. Republicans are on track to lose the midterms. They were actually trending in the other direction until Charlie Kirk was murdered. Yeah. And this is the point, isn't it? The most effective political assassination in history. And thanks to the likes of the vile cunt Candace Owens, she has turned Turning Point into the perpetrators of the crime that was against them. I don't get paid by any of these people. I'm not on good terms necessarily with Turning Point USA. They didn't invite me to their stupid event. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. They
invited you and then they uninvited you. And he kind of made it seem like it's not a big deal, but as you can tell, it is a big deal. I'm assuming he's paid to attend America Fest. I'm assuming that there is some type of monetary compensation for those who are attending that event. And then there's also the exposure. So let's put all this together. First, it was, the disinvite to America Fest by Turning Point USA. That's a financial hit. And Candace isn't invited, but she's still growing. So it's just, to me, it's like he kind of tried to pretend like it didn't really bother him when he talked about it before. But now we're starting to see a different side of all this, guys.
They didn't invite me to their stupid event. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. They invited me back after I started criticizing Candace. I'm not going to your event. I'm over all of this shit. The last thing that I need to deal with is a bunch of cowards in conservative media refusing to stand up to her. Megyn Kelly, come on. I appreciate the kind words, but come on. Such fucking pathetic bullshit. And I get people saying, Tim, thank you so much for talking about it. I don't care. I'm not doing a favor for anybody. I'm not doing this to benefit anybody. Nobody's paying me. There's no fucking Russia. There's no fucking Israel. There's just me sticking my neck out and then risking dying for what? A bunch of
Were you sticking your neck out when you were in the room with Benjamin Netanyahu? No, you were going along with the establishment.
Dying for what? A bunch of cowards that don't want to stand up to protect themselves? People like fucking Candace Owens?
I couldn't believe that she put you in the thumbnail
What a fucking cunt.
of her piece today.
I'm done.
The idea that she'd
I'm
imply
fucking
that you had some benefit or that you benefit somehow. Like
she benefited. I think she's a Fed, and I think she killed Charlie. No one benefited more than her.
This is where we're at now, folks. When people's finances start getting hit, here come the podcast wars. So this is where we're at. Now Tim Pool was saying that he thinks that she killed Charlie Kirk, that Candace Owens did. That money must have been good. Like, I'm sitting here looking back and I'm like, wow, you must have been doing really well. Candace Owens did respond to that, by the way. He is genuinely not well right now. I wouldn't turn this into a cheap internet moment. There is just so clearly something personal going on in his life. It's hard to run a business and he's under pressure. Pray he comes through it. So she responded in a very different way than I think most people would have responded to those allegations there by Tim Pool. Yeah, he's going through something, all right. This is a money situation. And then he goes on to say here that they may have to end the show.
So where does it leave us? We have 2 weeks left in the year before we go on our Christmas hiatus. You know, I'm not a big fan of any kind of hiatus. I would prefer just to work. But it is taxing. It is grueling, of course. And there's a lot of infrastructure here that requires me to work all day, every day, Monday to Friday, with some extra work on the weekends, usually meetings. And I'm probably going to have a stroke. My health's actually pretty good. My blood pressure is great. My resting heart rate is actually around 45. I exercise quite a bit. Haven't been able to skate in the past month or two, the holidays, and But we have to have these conversations, and I have been with the people, our contractors, people we work with, our vendors, partners. And one thing is clear: the violence will get worse. It is going to escalate. We cannot keep going as status quo. Something has to change. It may be that, as we described after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the threat to come and shoot up our studio and our workplace, we asked, at what point do we say we can't do this anymore? The cost of running Timcast IRL Studio and the projects around it exceeds the amount of money it brings in. That's just that breaking point, isn't it, for any business? If you need $100 to, run your restaurant, but you're only bringing 90, you go out of business. The issue? The cost isn't cameras or lights. The cost is security because of the escalation. It's an artificial cost to doing business that we can't balance. We can't forego security, but we can't sustain it either. So I've had some conversations with our partners, been talking with Rumble. There may be a solution.
See, that's the financial hit. And I'll tell you guys, for those who are not aware, I can't speak for other people, but I don't really make anything on Rumble. Just FYI, money-wise. It seems like Rumble benefits those that have a Rumble contract, which I do not have and I don't want. But I don't really make anything on Rumble. So I don't know. Maybe he probably does have a Rumble contract. I don't know, but this is all I'm telling you guys, it's the money.
And it's going to be rapid change very quickly. We're going to have some emergency meetings. We've already had emergency meetings for obvious reasons. And there is a possibility that the 19th is the last episode of Timcast IRL. we are doing everything we can to make sure that's not going to be the case. It's no secret that I've been frustrated and disillusioned with a lot of people in politics, but that's no reason to walk away from doing our nightly show with a tremendous success. But the cost is not just money anymore. The cost is the safety of my family, myself, and there are many ideas we're floating around.
But those things also cost money. You see what I'm saying, guys? Like, that's what I'm saying. It goes back to the money issue. Like he said with the security, that does cost money. So yeah, there's a hit, a financial hit. And I think, let's see here if I can just look something up really quickly. We're just going to check something out here because I'm going to take you to his channel. I'm telling you guys, like the Israel stuff really did. Here we go. Let's pull this up. The Israel stuff really divided people. So check this out. And especially within, with the conservatives, like there is a break there. So if we go to Tim Pool's channel, he has 1.47 million subscribers, which is hella a lot, way more than most of us have, right?
There's a platform called OnlyFans.
Pause that for a second. And let's be fair. Is this the most recent? Okay, yeah. 3 days ago. So he has a live stream 3 days ago that has, can I zoom in? All right. He has a live stream 3 days ago that has 80,000 views. That is just 3 days ago, though. If you go further back, you see more views. But let's go take a look at what is happening here. All right, 158,000, 97,000, 100,000, 142,000. Now, these are live streams. There's one with 70 and 463. Let's go all the way back. That's the Culture War podcast. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It looks like his live stream views were a little bit higher 2 years ago. Some of them. 414,000 views. Let's go to videos. This is where I think he's taken the hit. So again, he has over 1.47 million subscribers. And if we look at the videos, this video that he released 18 hours ago has 57,000 views. For a channel that has over 1 million subs like that, that's on the low end. Granted, that is 18 hours ago, right? But look at this one. MAGA Revolution is coming to Australia, 27,000 views. This one has Milo. And that one, that was trending at that time, 34,000 views. Here's a video here that has 8.5 thousand views. That doesn't make it, like I said, for a channel that has over 1.47 million subscribers, that doesn't make any sense. So that's what I meant when I said the view count. So that does take an impact. Here's another one. Again, I'm just going straight down. I'm not being biased here. 1 day ago, 5.9 thousand views. 2 days ago, 12,000 views. So if that were like a channel my size, that would be one thing, but not for a channel that has 1.47 million subscribers. Let's go to most popular. We can get this on the homepage.
There's a platform called OnlyFans.
Let me stop that. So, and the ones where he brings on guests, like those views are going to be higher, obviously. What was I going to do? Oh, go to most popular. Sorry. Go to the most popular videos here. And this was the impact of the YouTube algorithm back in the day, right? 3 million views, 2.3 million views, 8 years ago, 7 years ago. That was before YouTube changed their algorithm. Let's see if we can find something a little bit closer to the date here. 5 years ago. You see how the algorithm took a big 700,000, 600,000 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Charlie Kirk, over 677,000 views. That one. And I think a lot of the Charlie Kirk ones did really well. They got a lot of numbers like during that time. So if I were to make a guess, I would say, because then a lot of these are 5 years ago. If I were to make a guess, I say that a lot of this has to do with the Israel issue. That's where a big part of the split is. And remember, like I said, he was in that room with Benjamin Netanyahu. So do I think that that is Candace's fault? No. That was a decision that Tim Pool made. There are a number of us in the space that have had offers, been invited to certain things, and we said, no, that's not what we're about. I've said no a couple of times, unless it's something that I actually support. I've said no. Some of us had corporate offers. I said no to all of them. So I think what a lot of people might be looking for, especially this time around that Trump is president again, I think people are looking for people like, okay, let's see if they're being consistent. Let's see if if they're supporting the values and the politics and the principles. And I think from what I saw online, what people saw with Tim Pool is that when it came to that, the genocide in Israel, et cetera, people saw that he wasn't being principled. So it just, like I said, I told you this one was going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people. You can't sit up there and say that you support family values and all of this stuff, and you're supporting this genocidal state of Israel. And that was a deal breaker for many people. So Tim Pool is crashing out, folks. And I think that's what this is about. It's a monetary hit. And when you have those types of expenses that he has, yeah, it's going to be a problem. You guys, let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments. Do you think that this attack that he said, do you think that was real? Do you think there's exaggeration? Let me know. Let me know. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.